Creative expression is truly a beautiful thing, and if you're like Jalil, you definitely find the creative nature in everything that you do. So much so that he even went to start his own podcast, the JVY Podcast, back in 2019. And really, this started before that, because for as long as Jalil could remember, he loves to talk, he loves to make announcements, he loves to do different skits. He did every single band that you can think of. Essentially, he loves things that bring about his creative process and allow him to really just think, but also express himself in that same token. And he also recognizes that not all the times can we resonate with everything that's out there. And so he wanted minorities, particularly African Americans, to have an outlet, to have a network, to have something that they can tap into and tune into. However, along the way, there were some opportunities that were presented to him and that were not presented to him. So it caused him to pivot and go separate ways. But ultimately, he did not let that take away from what he wanted to bring to the table and what he wanted to put out there for others. So me and Jalil got into a very insightful and fruitful discussion, and I'm so excited for what he has to bring. And I definitely encourage all of you to tap into the JVY Podcast. And when you hear the episode, the name that I deemed for this episode will make that much more sense. So without further ado, enjoy episode 180, Mr. Yeet Yeet. For the people out there, however y'all are tuning into me, first and foremost, I just want to thank you. I want to welcome you to another episode of the Down to Business Podcast here with Tamar Turner. I'm excited, man. One, just because for those of y'all who've really kind of been following along the journey, who've been going with me and growing with me, we haven't done a live interview since November. You know, we've been on some shows, we've had some content, we've released some things. That was all in forth of me just thinking and just trying to be prepared. 12 P's is something I live by heavily. So, but it feels good to be back on the camera. Feels good to be back in Tampa. Feels good to be conducting business. Big shout out to Jalil for just making this happen for me today. Very quick turnaround time, but I have to give even a bigger shout out to Miss Mia Pack. Man, I definitely do appreciate the love, just how much she stays on me, how accountable she holds me, but all the love and support that she gives me. I've seen her give Jalil just the same. So very excited for this combo. So for those of y'all tapping in, whether you be on the Facebook Live, the LinkedIn Live, even our Down to Business Instagram Live, I appreciate you. Welcome. And let's get, it's my first time using this software, so we're gonna roll with the punches and run it through. So very excited to be sitting down with Jalil today. One, because he's a fellow podcaster, and it's not to say if you came on here and you weren't a podcaster, I showed you any less of love or gave you any less of energy, but it always just feels good to share the space with another person who does what I do. So I'm very excited for him to get into all things that he does, maybe even make some connections. Let y'all know I love when people kind of network and come together. So hopefully by the end of that, we'll have all of that. So Jalil, how you doing today, bro? How's everything on your end? Talk to me, man.
And first and foremost, shout out to you and the platform that you've created, brother. It's really good to see Black men, Black entrepreneurs, Black creators have something that they can have a base for and build from that and make their own thing. So first and foremost, congratulations to you and all of your success. Secondly, happy Black Excellency and Black History Month. I had to throw that in there from my Black people. But I'm good, man. I woke up, I still got breath in my body. Got things that I can do still. My family's okay, so I'm doing good, man. And thank you so much for having me on the platform. I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And how could I be so remiss to forget Black Excellence Month, man? Y'all probably won't hear this during that month, but we are in February right now, February 5th to be exact. And yes, we are rocking and we are rolling. It's here, man. They even gave us an extra day this year, so shout out to the leap year. But all right, so to bring everybody up to speed, to get everybody on the same page, because I know we're going to have some people tapping in from my side. I know we're going to have some people joining from your side. And then I know we're going to have some newcomers that come along the way tapping into us both. So can you, one, just tell us a little bit about yourself? And then can you, two, just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business Podcast today?
Man, so I'm born and raised in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, 26 years old, about to be 27 in March. I'm very happy about that. I have a podcast called the JVY Podcast. It's very underground. I'm still working on getting it out there to the masses, but we're 7 seasons deep. One-man show, but I'm a drummer. I'm a poet. I do TikTok. I do a lot of things that keep me creative. And so creativity, telling a story, sharing something with the world that isn't the norm to everybody. That's what I present, and that's what I like to move off of. So that's a little synopsis, but more will come out further down the line in the depths of the conversation. But that's the gist of it.
I love that. I love the creative direction that people take. whichever way they decide to go. And I even have to take my hat off just a little bit more because I understand what comes with being a one-man band, a one-woman band, man, to put everything on your own back and to really just want to do it and continue it and put it out there, content create. It's not easy. It's hard having just, really not even having a brand, but just living and just kind of doing everything that we do kind of solo and just on our own. So the fact that you take on more and add yourself to that and put yourself out there, but also at the same time bring exposure to others, man, that's memorable and that's commemorable for sure. So I guess I want to kind of take it back to the origin.
Okay.
JVY, how did this really start? Where did this idea spark from? Were you always kind of interested in just content creation? Was it something that kind of sparked you? Was it something you saw one day? Did somebody make a suggestion and did it kind of just run from there? Take us from start to finish.
All right, you want the long version or you want the short version?
I got nothing but time. Give us the long version.
All right, so in grade school, elementary, middle, high school, I did nothing but the announcements. The morning announcements, I'm telling you what's on the lunch menu for the day. I'm telling you what's about to happen with the pep rally. I'm the guy that's saying, hey, bus 316, get on your bus. It's time to go. I did all of that. So when I got off to college, actually take it back. No Limit Larry, the Morning Madhouse, that was one of the biggest inspirations, especially when all of us black children know when you miss the school bus and your parents dropping you off, you either hear Steve Harvey and nephew Tommy yelling, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, or you hear No Limit Larry in the Morning Madhouse. So all of those entities and all those personalities all at the same time kind of was like, you know what? I won't want to do that. But then also like, how do I make it my own thing? So after grade school, I went to Catawba College in Salisbury, North Carolina. And I did start off as a music major because music is my first love. Been playing since I was 5. Drumming, everything. You can name the band. I've done it. Marching band, jazz band, concert, or like all of it. But the main thing was getting to the people and talking. So even if I wasn't doing something announcement-wise when it came to a pep rally or something, I'm still at the football games like, hey, yo, listen, Battle of the Bands is about to come up. Hey, you might want to show up to that. So in college, what we did in the music program, it was called the Artist Development Program. So I took whatever personality I thought I had for real and spread word of mouth. Like, hey, listen, Black Student Union, y'all might want to show up to this show tomorrow, right? If you show up to this, we'll show up to 2 of your events. Hey, football players, I know y'all got this big game, but check this out. The day before the game, we got an important show. So if you come to this show, then we're going to show up to the game in full force. And that's exactly what we did. Now, the years I went to Catawba was 2015 to 2019. And at that time, Snapchat was a very popular thing. So my whole thing was, I'm coming from West Meck, where I knew everybody. And now I'm on this college campus where I don't know anybody but maybe 2 or 3 people. So let's make something, but let it be authentic, let it be genuine, let it be something I do. So what I started doing was I took a word of a day, a vocabulary word of the day. That's the first thing I posted every morning. I don't care if I'm crusty, I don't care if I'm dusty. That's the first thing I'm posting. I'll wake up every morning, and I still do this to this day. You can ask the people close to me. I still do this to this day. I'm gonna do the intro. I would say, yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Pack, Mr. JVY, Mr. Yeet. Hope you're having a great day. Be safe, easy, and positive. Drink some water, eat a fruit or vegetable, take your vitamins and your multis, and remember that you woke up and you blessed today. And then I'll do everything. I'll run down the whole week of, look, we got this show coming. Homecoming's about to happen. Fried Chicken Friday coming up, so you might want to go in early. And so from there, I built a little bit of a name on campus. So it was like, oh, this Mr. JVY, yo, what's up, Mr. Yeet? And I'm like, hey, y'all watch this? Oh, yeah, bro, we watch, man. Man, hey, you got to tell us what's going on tomorrow. But then at the same time, I was also letting people know who I was personally. So if I was mad that old girl across the campus didn't want to come through, I wouldn't tell all her business. But I'm like, ain't that funny how people, and it's like, yo, that's crazy. Like, this is pretty funny. So then I kind of channeled it into YouTube. So I took random events that would happen on campus. You working on a paper and your roommates being loud. I use a skit on that. I'll do a going home for Thanksgiving as a college student skit. I'll do something for Christmas break. I'll do a Valentine's thing. I just do something random. And so more people followed, and it's like, okay, bet. So where to start at? You got a Snapchat? All right, bet. We're going to go to Snapchat. Cool. My junior year is when one of my communications professors came to his class and said, yo, we have this idea of starting a radio show. And we want a radio show specifically for the students, but we want a lot of diversity. So it was myself, and I'm going to name my friends, Alexis Beverly, Jeremiah Moss, and DJ Austin Love. And we created a show called the Cat U Takeover, or Catawba Takeover. And we just talked about what it was like being Black on campus. But we also talked about everything else that was happening. Like, yo, what you think about the Friday night basketball game? Like, whatever. Oh, man, I thought it was cool, but I wish such and such would have scored more. I wish this would have happened. If the coach would have put my mans in, we would have won by a blowout, like stuff like that. And then we also incorporated music. So everybody loved music. A lot of us were musicians. Other ones were cheerleaders. Other ones were club leaders. So it's like, all right, we're playing music that everybody listens to. So what is it that we can do to continue to draw people in? We made a playlist. So it's like, all right, here's the playlist of the songs that I know this crowd will love. But see, this crowd like a little bit of country. So let's throw 2 or 3 country songs in there. Let's do some pop rock, some Taylor Swift or something like that. And then we kept it rotating. After a while, the show got canceled because our school was a division NCAA team. So when March Madness came about, the syndication wouldn't work how we wanted it to. So it was like, yo, after March Madness, we got y'all to come back. Like, we ready for it? And it's an old rinky-dink 1950s radio station. So it's not computers. Like, we using a floppy disk and a CD disc, like a burned CD, just of all the music that we think we're going to play. All right, bet. Let's do it. Let's do that, whatever. March Madness was over and they canceled the show because too many people didn't like the fact that we was talking about being Black on campus. So here's where the podcast comes into play. The podcast comes into play here. When I graduated in 2019, I want to say it was 2 weeks after I graduated in May. And I'm at my aunt's house and I was like, yo, I know I'm not working right now, but I want to do something to where I can keep myself busy. But it's also something where I applied to radio stations. I applied to news stations. I applied everywhere. I was like, yo, if I can just get in somewhere and show this skill set, like I just want to do that. At that time, I realized that all those no's lead to something else. So I said, do I sit here and do I wallow about not getting into the radio station I grew up on, which I knew I was way better than? And it's not to say I'm better than them people. I just know that if I've listened to what y'all did and downloaded it into what it is that I do and continue to make my own thing, the next wave of people that's listening can understand what I'm talking about. So I was like, yo, I want to start a podcast. And at this time, the 85 South show was doing this thing, the Joe Budden podcast. I want to say, I forget what else was out at that time, but those 2 podcasts is like comedy, Black men just talking and having a safe space to talk. So May, I want to say it was like the 20 something of May of 2019 is when I started the JVY podcast. And my first season was just talking about college advice. The same thing I would do going back to my old high school. Like, hey, here's how you take notes so you can be better for this exam. Like, hey, here's what it's like in your freshman year, your sophomore, junior, senior year, and what college is like after you leave. And after that, it was like, okay, I got the first season, but let's make it a little more personal. So then it comes to, and you know this as well, where it's like, okay, I'm starting off by myself. I feel like it's a nice groove, but let's get some other voices in here to get some different opinions. So then I got musicians I know, I got curators I know, I got producers, photographers, videographers, like people who I know that are in the field out there doing their thing or still coming up, but they have a good presence with them. So I'm like, okay, I feel like my audience will like this. So let's talk to you about why this song was the most important when it came to your foundation. And what did that do for you now? What does that do for you now? And that's kind of how every season went. Now, after a while, I went back to doing my own solo episodes because I knew that once the TikTok stuff started popping in 2020, it was like, all right, these people like my voice. And it's not to be braggadocious, but it's like, I know I talk very well. So what is it that I can talk about that can draw them away from whatever else they was listening to? Because now you got the man as a woman podcast. You don't have a lot of podcasts where it talks about us and Black positivity, but it's also like, let me learn you something too. Let me tell you why these white folks, they like Kendrick, but are they listening to Kendrick? Like, are they listening to what it is about a Roe v. Wade? Is there something that we can really talk about here? And so in these 7 seasons, it was a growth, but it was also like a learning lesson. Like, okay, this season was amazing because I had this many guests on here. But then this season not only has 7 episodes and it's just me. So let's formulate to where this season right here can be. So everything's like a building block. So I kind of found a groove a little bit. All I need to do is get the visuals. That's it. But that's pretty much the story of the JVY podcast, man. And to be honest, I never had a radio name for myself. I never had a radio personality name. So JVY is just J. That's one of my nicknames, but the A just turns to a V. I had a whole story and background for it. That's too much to remember. So I'm like, let me just stick with what I know. But that's it, man.
And you gave me even some insight because I was definitely going to ask about JVY because one of my boys, Jay Coachman, he calls himself J True with the A as an X. So, just a little, just how they do it. So when I saw the V, I said it might be something there. But no, man, really just to take it back. And to hear your journey, to hear that we started our podcast during the same year, to hear that, it became a thing of we have very similar backgrounds. 2019 was actually when I was graduating from my master's program. So I came back to Philly. I was just unhappy, applied to countless jobs, was writing script here, phone interview here, this and that. And it just wasn't working. It wasn't happening. But I realized that I had a lot of these skills already. I had the equipment being sold around me. Just go grab it, go buy it. And then from there, just take matters into your own hands. Because like you said, you want to do something, like not to be, I don't even really consider it bragging when you just know what you bring to the table. Your personality, your voice. And when you hear it from others and when it resonates with others, that's really when it propels you to take that extra step. Because that's really what it was for me. Once I made the announcement and put it out there, all the feedback that I got, it was just like, dang, I should have started this months ago, maybe even in grad school, maybe through all those excuses. And like you said, all those no's led you somewhere totally different where you needed to be. And for me, as much as I wanted to be in sports, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be your next Shannon Sharp, Stephen A, Ryan Clark, anybody like that. You know what I'm saying? But now it's just like, now I'm connecting people. Now I'm on here with different voices, different spaces, different places. And it's been amazing. So I definitely don't regret any part of this journey, but it really just goes to show you when you tap into your creative process, when it's something that you really love and that you're passionate about, you'll find your way there one way or another. So I love that. I love that this really started from something at school, from a professor, to making people feel included and inclusive. Because I could imagine, Kat, you just listening to that, other students, they were in y'all's shoes, they were resonating with you, they were relating to y'all, they were just like, dang, like somebody's just putting a voice to my thoughts, or a voice to my experiences, or a voice to my emotions, and everything of the sort. So I could imagine what y'all served as for those people. So shout out to you and all your other counterparts. But just the same, shout out to you for still continuing it, because I know through everything, through a creative process, through a creative journey, you lose motivation. Some days are better than others. Sometimes you're just ready to go, got it off the tip of your tongue. But other days you have that writer's block, or other days you just may not feel so motivated, or want to do that, or want to be in that grind or that mode. So the fact that you somehow, some way, you still swiveled and found a way, man, I take my hat off to that just the same. So, and thinking about what it is that you do with the JVY official podcast, I see that you drop twice a week. Would you say that moving forward, does each season like adopt a different set of talking points? Do you aim to bring on different people per season? If people were listening to season 1 versus season 2, could they have expected something to be highlight? Is it really kind of just you? Do you put because for me, like I tell people that my podcast is like very similar to Black Mirror. And for those of y'all who don't really understand Black Mirror, it's one of those where you could start on season 5, you could start on season 3, you could start on episode 6, you could start on episode 7. You would never have missed a beat because everything is its own niche, its own, and I like that. I like the fact that I'm 170 plus episodes in, 180 plus maybe by the time y'all hear this, but you can start at 29, you can start at 110, you can start at 8, and you've never missed down the business. You may even hear some of the same stuff over. So with yours, do you aim for certain criteria, certain genres, or certain everything, or is it really just kind of what comes to you as you're creating and kind of moving through?
Man, I'll be honest. My kind of with each season, and the reason why I call them seasons is I would love to consistently drop episode after episode after episode. My thing is I never want to get to a point of burnout. So when I take these like a hiatus or a break for a season, I'm experiencing everything in between. So with season 6 and season 7, around that time, and if my sister is watching, matter of fact, before I continue, Mia Pack is my twin sister. So for those who don't know, I have a twin sister, and that's probably one of the biggest motivations for my pod. Like, she keeps me going. So around that time of season 6 and season 7, I want to say wrapping up season 6, is when my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And she passed in March of last year. But I would send her episodes of every pod, like, what you think about this? What you think about this? What you think about this? And she would be real. She's like, yo, son, I love this, but try to take away some dead space. You know, if you have talking points, write them down on the whiteboard or have a notebook right beside you when you're recording. So when you are recording, you just, boom, scratch this off. Let's go to the next one. You know, and I try to keep a minimum of 3 points, but I also like to do as much research as possible. But I still want to give my own opinion to it, to where it's not jaded, to where it's taken away from what it is that I'm talking about. So when it comes to guests, let's say if I have a season where I'm only talking to people who work behind the lens, and the entire season is with nothing but photographers and videographers, I'm picking and choosing, okay, I see this person right here. I met them at a networking event and I got their business card. I want to know why they got into it. Okay, boom. This person over here shot for this Fortune 500 company, and I want to know what advice or pinpoints or little droplets could you give somebody else in the field who wants to get there, but they're scared of because they don't have the right quality of cameras per se. Okay, we got that. Let's talk to this person who's produced indie film and does scoring for the movie, but they also work really closely with the director and producers. How do you, from scoring the music, writing out the score, having all of the like everything broad, and then narrowing it down to like, hey, this is the clip that we have. This is exactly what we're working with. This is exactly what we want to do. What can I do to feed this specific creativity into this specific one and make it a bigger thing? So anything that I do, it is kind of meticulous, but then it's like, you know what? It could be a random season. I'm going to talk to this person who does a lot of choreography, but I'm going to also talk to this person who's a poet. But since they do poetry and they dance, let's talk to this person who tames tigers. I don't know, but it's like with everything, I find some type of creativity. Everything is an artscape. Everything is something that you escape with from life. And so if you have a story to tell and you can find some positive out of anything negative, that's what the pod is about. That's really what it's about. That's why I started it, because it's like, man, they told me no. But then it's like the confidence that I have speaking on the mic or recording, and to be honest with you, bro, I'm being very honest, not being biased. You're probably the second, maybe third podcast I've been on. Like interviewing. This has been the goal since I started. Like, please let somebody interview me on my because I want people to know who it is, what it is, but I also want to connect. And that's the biggest thing. So when I have a guest, even if I know them personally, it's like, no, this is still a connection. Because although I know you outside of your creative space, I don't know who you are when you tap into that mode all the time. So let's figure out who this is. A lot of the folks that know me, they know Jalil. They know Lil. Lil is that, oh my gosh, he's quirky, he's funny. But when I record, it's like, oh, that's out the window. You get JVY. When I'm on the drums, oh, that's Jalil. Like, hey, don't touch him. He drumming, you might get hit with a stick. If I'm doing poetry, you get JVY. But it's also like, it's different avenues, different modes. So every season, every episode, every guest I have feels a different mode. And if I don't have different personalities or different walks of life on the pod, then it's like, what am I doing? You know, but I'm fueled by everything. I say that I'm fueled by everything. But.
And I love just the intention behind it because, like you said, you're just very meticulous. It may be some random things. It may be something coming together from like a whim or just a connection or just something that you wanted. But in the back of your head, it's always some sort of strategy or some sort of idea. You're always that much of ahead. And that's what I love really about content creation and just people who have a creative outlet or have a creative space, because while to us or while to your followers, your supporters, your audience, your people, they may be looking at you face value in that moment. They don't realize that you're already thinking about a next idea, your next piece if you're a poet, your next episode, your next video issue. You know, even as I was telling you with these episodes, like it was at a point where I was sitting on 18 episodes. So I'm just like, okay, I'm thinking about the one that I'm about to drop today, but I'm also thinking about 17 other different content ideas, 17 other different intros, other locations, other people. What did I say in this episode to make it timely enough so that I can still drop it or whatever? Because sometimes I caught myself doing that too, which is why I got to watch what I say in certain episodes. I'll be talking about 2023 and it'll be 2024, a whole new year. I'm just now saying happy new year. We 2 months in a year or something like that. So no, but it's always just like, you know, once you're in that creative space, even sometimes just the many personalities or hats that come with you. Like you said, you know, when you're in podcast mode, when you're recording, that's you. When you're in poetry mode, that's a totally different one. When you're in musician mode, that's a totally different thing. And I love seeing that with other people because, you know, you get to really see what people are passionate about, what they love, what really gets them going. And sometimes they have to take a step back from it and kind of lock in from a different angle, from a different perspective. So, and I even love, well, obviously, first and foremost, what I should have started with was my condolences to you. I talked to Mia a lot through that, of somebody who lost their mom in 2011. I completely understand that. But, you know, even still, with everything that you were going through, with everything that you kind of had going on, to still see you pressing forward, to still see you making it happen, keeping the family close, making things work, making things shake and bake, that's still admirable just the same to me, bro. So obviously loving that, because like you said, you know, coming on, I can't tell you how many times people have told me like this was kind of their first start or a goal of theirs was to be on podcasts. And I was kind of, it warms my heart just because like, damn, like I feel like, okay, like I can make this happen for you. Or I can bridge this gap or I can connect because I know through my 170, 180, I've connected people. I've said, yo, I had no idea that this person did real estate, but you just said you want to do this. So here, let me do that for y'all. I had no idea that you were up there, like my New York people connecting with my North Carolina people, my North Carolina people connecting with my Florida people, my Philly people connecting with Texas people. Man, this was really just the journey. And that's all that I want to continue to see as we bring on more episodes, more niches, more brands, more people, more like-minded individuals, because that's really what it leads to at the end of the day. Everybody's just the like-minded, trying to connect in one way. Hey, what can I do for you? What can you do for me? And sometimes it's not even a what can you do for me? It's just how can I help? How can I support? How can I further your vision? How can I broaden your horizon? How can we do this to make this happen together? And I think that's really the beauty of everything, bro. So I'm obviously, excited to tap into it because I feel like I was kind of inadvertently tapping into your journey because Mia don't play about her twin brother, y'all. She gonna drop the content, she gonna drop the feed and all that. She didn't play. I didn't realize, and what's so crazy when I wasn't even really paying attention, I didn't realize that y'all were twins. But now that you say that, it makes sense. Like it all just makes, because Mia don't play about her folks. When you know, when she loves you, when she down for you, she got you there. But twin bro, it makes 110% sense. But I was just like, I felt like I was inadvertently tapping into you because of all the content I was seeing, all the podcast episodes that you were dropping, all the consistency behind them and everything. She tags you in a lot of things, bro. So I was already seeing it from behind closed doors type thing. But to now be exposed to it, to now kind of hear about it, and to now just pick your brain a little bit and get some insight into the vision, I love that. So to even take it a step further now, I'm big on also too, like one manifestations, one goals, one discussing kind of what we want to come to the forefront, to come to fruition and everything like that. But I also love just tapping into unexposed things. And I say that from a perspective of, we're going to have some people who this is their first time hearing from you. This is their first time finding out about the JVY podcast, about what Jalil does, about all of that. And I want to give them obviously something to look forward to, but something that's also going to kind of capture their attention, or maybe even bring about some questions for them, some curiosity, or potentially some collaborations. So as we move through this year now, we're kind of, like I said, I don't want to speak to what month we'll be in when this episode drops. So I'm just going to say we're moving through the year here. Okay. Is there anything that people can expect? Is there anything that you're trying to tap into? Any collaborations that you're looking forward to? Now, obviously, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to reveal any surprises that we don't need to. But I like that first exclusive access in a sense. So is there anything that people can kind of look forward to, anything that you're thinking about, any ideas that's kind of come across your docket that you may even want to bring to life with the podcast or just personally?
Man. The first thing for real is doing more of visual aspects. I can't tell you how many times, and I mean, I've gotten chewed out. Like, hey, bro, like, we know you can talk, you sound great, but we want to see the emotion behind these words. So it's like, all right, bro, I got you. Or like, hey, bro, listen, I know you don't know about LLCs and trademarks and stuff, but let's go ahead and lock it down because I want a t-shirt. I'm like, you want a t-shirt? Yeah, I want a t-shirt. They just say yeet yeet right here. And then I'm like, all right. Okay, all right. That sounds like an idea. Ultimately, I want to say there's a lot of creators here in Charlotte. But I mean people that like, and these are people I know personally, and it's never, whenever I say these things, I never want it to sound like I'm bragging, but I also want to make it known like, hey, God didn't put me in the position to meet with these people, and I'm not going to talk about them. Like, for anybody who knows Charlotte, y'all know Dennis Reed Jr. Dennis Reed Jr. was just on America's Got Talent with Saint Trap Choir, and they're out of Charlotte. So an idea is to, I want to talk to him and talk to his partner, in crime, DJ Fannie Mae. I want to talk to them about what the creation of that was. But I also want to tap into the artists that you may have never heard of. I used to write for an art column where Charlotte is creative. I want to talk to those people about what was the point of you creating something for the artists that don't get the shine. And why do you feel like it has longevity? To get personal, bring family on the pod, because I have set family members who want to be on here. Mia specifically. Like, hey, bro, like, I want to do an episode. Like, let's do an episode. Like, all right. Like, if I do an episode, then they're going to see exactly why I act the way I act. But it's like, if you want to get to know who Jalil is, then you have to see the foundation of that. I got my mom on there. I got my dad on there. So it's like, well, why not have the person who was my first best friend on here? But then y'all see why I can call her Mama Mia and you can't argue it. Like, that's the reason. Ultimately, bro, for real, what I want to work towards, whether it be throughout the duration of this year, we go into 2025 and further and beyond, I want to create like an entertainment thing. To where it's like, yo, entertainment, not even a business. I want to make it a big thing, bro. Like, listen, you can hit me up for any of these services, like JVY Entertainment or whatever it may be. You need a drummer, I got a whole bunch of them joints for you. I'll drum until my knees blow out. Like, I will. Ask Mia. I will go until my knees blow out on them drums. Like, you need somebody who needs, you want to write some poetry? Cool. You want me to teach a poetry class? I'll definitely do that. You want to know about a little bit of photography? Because I do my own little vlogs to take my photo shoot sometimes. It's like, yeah, I'm a beginner still, but I'll teach you why this leaf needs to look brown instead of gray. So I got you. Or, hey, you want to know what it's like to start a podcast? I'll teach you whatever equipment you got that you can use, so you ain't spending thousands of dollars. But then after a while, let's go ahead and invest in something for yourself, not for the people, for yourself. All about investment. So it's like, if I'm coming to this realization, I have all of these different skills and things that I've tapped into. Why would I not use them? If God gave me the talent to speak, to walk, talk, recite poetry, play a drum, why would I not take it, mold it into something, and then give it to y'all? If I can talk, and again, not to be braggadocious, if I can talk the way I'm talking to these people on TikTok, why can I not put that same energy into a pod? You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, it's like building more of the foundation of what the JVY podcast is, but not just for me, but what it could do for other people. You know, my whole thing is I want to leave the mark that I feel like I want to leave on this earth, a very positive mark. I'm very accountable of what I say or do. But when I leave, I want y'all to know it was black, it was beautiful, and it was very informative. He talked this stuff a little bit, but those three things I want y'all to understand, like everything came from a place. I was raised in a library, so research is a big part of all of this. You know, sitting back and just being quiet and watching people do something like, oh, I like how he did this. Let's take one piece of that and put that into the DNA of a JVY podcast. You know, let's take something that a Down to Business podcast is doing where they're streaming. It's like, wow, you're streaming an episode. You're going to record this and edit it, put out a clip if you need to, and be like, yo, this episode coming soon. You might want to be ready. Like, hey, you never know when it's dropping, but I'm going to tell you, if you wasn't here, you better get acquainted. Those are the things that I want to do. So just building something for the next year, man. That's all I want. All I want is to build an outreach. That's what I want to do.
And it's crazy you mentioned all of this now. One, because my LLC actually just got approved 2 weeks ago for the podcast. Yes. So I can definitely, big shout out to my fraternity brother who helped me with that, Trump. I can definitely connect you with him. Ironically enough, he's in Charlotte. And a lot of the creative avenues and just creative places that and even connections that I've made have all been there. So my first live event was in Charlotte. My 2 live events following that were in Charlotte. We have a venue out there that we actually, they look out for us whenever we give them the dates or everything like that. They let us know and we kind of make things happen. So I say all of that to say, one, just going to ECU has put a lot of connections in my belt. But bro, just let me know. I'm here to help you. Help one eat, we all eat. That's pretty much how I feel at this point in my life, just in my journey and just for everything that I want to do. So we'll definitely wrap offline. We'll definitely do all of that. But also that just goes to show proximity and timeliness. God put us on this episode for a reason. God connected us the way he did for this exact reason, because, you know, it's early on in the year. We all got the motivation. We all got the grind for it, but you got a bigger picture to it. And I feel like that's the same picture that I have kind of with the podcast. Part of the reason why I'm doing the grant, part of the reason why I want to build it down the business directory. I want to connect people. I want to make sure that everybody is going to be good either way. So we'll definitely talk a lot about that, but it also just, it can be an eye opener and ear opener for everybody tapping in, whether you're in Charlotte, surrounding areas, North Carolina, DMV, anything of the sort. He's trying to connect. He's trying to make things happen. And I know we have a lot of creatives that have not only been on this podcast, but that tap into the podcast and everything of the sort. So again, I just got to sing the praises of Mama Mia for putting us in front of each other right now, because yeah, I think that's the perfect nickname for her, for that, for just how she moves, but all in good faith, all in good love. And I know that she wants the best for everybody involved. So I'm excited for her, brother. So before we really tap into where people can find you, what you have going on, how they can keep up with you and everything of the sort, do you feel like there's anything out there that we haven't tapped into? Any last words that you even want to leave for creatives, business owners, entrepreneurs? Because we're going to have a lot of people that are at various stages in their journey, some that haven't started, some started and kind of taking a step back, some that are started or in it. But, you know, sometimes they're human beings. They lose vision. And then we're going to have those people who are started it, they're in it. But sometimes we just need to hear words. Like I feel very confident in the podcast. I feel very confident in everything that we're doing. But it's nothing like hearing something from somebody else sometimes, hearing a gem, hearing a pick me up, hearing some motivation. Even if it's nothing more than just a call to action on my end or something that I know I need to be doing just to hold myself accountable. So anything that you want to share for everybody out there who is currently tapping in, but who will also be tapping into this episode at a later date?
The best piece of advice that I got, and I still kind of use it to this day, is that you're never too prideful to ask for help. Never be too prideful for that. And never be too cool, because being too cool will make you frozen. So while I know I have a certain swag in the way that I talk and the way that I walk, it's like I also know that there may be another creator out there who's been doing it for 10 to 15 years and he got this in the bag. He not doing it like I can do it, but I'm not doing it like he can. So what do? Do I reach out, or do I just, oh man, he think he all that in the bag? That's not going to get me nowhere. That's taking me further down the rabbit hole. So first piece of advice, never be too prideful to ask for help. Now, I may not be 100-something episodes in, but I can tell you why I took my time to get to a smooth 80-something, right? But everybody's road is different. Everybody's path is different. The way that I pace and the way I move may be very different from somebody else's, you know? The second thing is never be scared to do what it is that you love to do. I love to talk. I love to talk. Now, Mia may tell you something different. Yes, I'm quiet. Of course, I'm quiet. When I don't know nobody, I'm quiet. But when I get comfortable around you and you give me that safeness to be like, you know what, bro, talk. Well, why are you quiet? Talk. I'm cool with that, right? The young lady I'm talking to right now, she's created a safe space. She's like, I want you to talk because I like to hear you talk. So it's like, oh, say no more. So if I got a safe space to talk with somebody, I can definitely get that to y'all. So when it comes to it, recognize what your safe space is. And then thirdly, tap into that demon, right? How Kobe can tap into Black Mamba, you know, how Jordan types into whoever he was at the time, to wherever 50,000-year-old LeBron can tap into when he 2 minutes down in the game and 3 points down. You know how Bron do. So it's like how I was talking earlier where I tap into these different versions of Jalil when it comes to certain things. That's because I know in that moment, when I tap into that, nothing else matters. If my equipment is right, if my chargers are here, my laptop is charged, my mic is good, I'm in a space in the house where it's really quiet and I ain't got no outside noise. When I'm playing this song and I know I'm about to kill it, when I get on the pod and I know that this topic is something that everybody's talking about, then it's like, oh, I did my research on this. I'm not going to tell y'all the bullet points, but I know that when I pull this out my pocket, it's over with, you know? So I also know that individuality and being yourself is not weird. You know, for a while, I stopped trying to chase everybody. I know that I'm not everybody out here. Everybody's not me. What I say, people ain't gonna like, and that's cool. But I do know the core few who are like, "Oh, Lil, I love this. Wow, like this is how you did. This is what we're doing. Yeah, when's the next one? When's the next one coming? Because now we got these people talking about Cardi and Megan, and while we would love to talk about that all day, we also got to talk about these babies still dying by building these phones in the Congo and Palestine. You know, we got a whole bunch going on, even in our own community. So it's like, whatever you do, be you. There's nothing wrong with being yourself. You were born yourself, and you're going to meet Jesus as yourself, or whoever you believe in, or a higher elevated version of yourself, but you're still going to be yourself. So do that as long as you can. You know, I don't know. That's all I got.
Oh, like he just spat out a couple of things, man. Nah, that's so real, man. That's so real. And I even piggyback on a point that I meant to touch on in my previous response too about people wanting to see you on camera. So, bro, my first 65 episodes were audio only. So, and it took me, you know, hearing, yo, get on YouTube, yo, do this, yo, do that, yo. And, you know, it speaks to that intention thing, but it also speaks to time. And that 66 episode, I just wanted it to be right. But for me, it was episode 66, but it felt like episode 1. It felt like a fresh start. It felt like a new journey. It felt like I didn't even have a haircut in that episode. Now, that don't mean everybody go back and look and go crazy, not because y'all was crazy, but I just was so ready for it, and we connected and just made it happen. Now I said, look, I'm gonna pick this hair out. Yeah, y'all ain't never seen me with a pick. That's crazy. But I'm gonna comb this out, and we gonna do what it do. But I say all of that to say timing is everything. So do things for you. You can't be unapologetically yourself. That's basically what Jalil is saying, just the same. If you're going to stand on something, then you stand on it. If you're going to do something and embrace it, put your best foot forward at all times, and don't let anybody control that narrative but you. Continue to be that higher elevated person of yourself. All it takes is 1%. As long as you were 1% better than you were the day before, it's 365 days in a year. So if anything, you'll triple what you really were supposed to do if you're just being due diligent about each percentage. So I thank you, one Jalil, just for all of the insight, just for the time. Like I said, I love a quick turnaround. I love when people come as connects of other people. And I know Mama Mia was not having it no other way. So big shout out to her once again. So before we officially close out, though, I know you even spoke to it a little bit during the pod, but I like to always just bring it in at the end. Can you just tell everybody out there the best places to reach you, contact you, social media, if they're interested in the podcast, wanting to tap in, listen to it? Give us everything you got, bro.
If you want to know everything, I'll start off with Instagram. So my regular Instagram page is _ JVLIL. It's my first name. I just have an underscore and a V, just like JVY. The second Instagram page is the JVY Podcast Official. That is the podcast page. We're under construction, but I promise things are coming. Y'all have no idea. I have no clue. My TikTok is JVY with 2 underscores under it. We're getting close to 70K. Shout out to all the sisters. I make playlists on my spare time, so Apple Music and Spotify _ JVLIL. I also produce beats, the beats that I feel like I would play live on my SoundCloud, I want to say. So it's the same as my Instagram handle _ JVLIL. Shoot, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm on Twitter, but I don't like to tell people I'm on Twitter because Twitter's a wild place. I'm gonna just be honest with you, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But yeah, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. If you ever want to find me on LinkedIn, my YouTube, Jalil Pack. I do have some of my old skits still up there. I have a few, maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 4 live episodes or recorded episodes visually of the JVY podcast as test runs, because I want to make sure that my quality always stays on point. So I have some of those. I got some drumming videos up there. But anytime y'all have a question, my Instagram DM is open. You know, I'm not giving out my phone number unless we're talking business. But the Instagram DM is always open. My comments, you can always leave them. It doesn't matter. I read everything. Just because I don't respond to everything don't mean I don't read everything. And I read everything. So please tread softly. Respect my gangster. All right. I don't want no problems. But no, honestly, man, that's all my social medias. But please, if y'all have questions, please hit me. I'm never too far away. I'm never too busy to not answer y'all's questions. And if I can do it for somebody, if somebody can do it for me, I can do it for anybody else. I'm no bigger than anybody, you know. So to you, brother, man, before I go or before we wrap up, I have to say this. What you have created, bro, I think that it's a safe space for entrepreneurs, for businessmen and women, for those in the creative field and those wanting to get into the creative field, but actually building something out of the hobby. I think that it's good to listen to people who not only look like you, but have a similar story and background and upbringing. And the fact is like, oh, this person has the same goal as me. Oh, let me tap into this. Because he may have a business blueprint that I've been thinking about for the last umpteen years of my life, and I never knew how to execute it. Now that I see this, I came to the right place. So, brother, I want to say thank you for opening up your schedule, your space for somebody who's still trying to figure it out. But we thank you, dog. I don't know where the chat is, if it's IG, if it's Periscope, I don't know. But y'all, please make sure you give this brother his flowers. We have to give each other our flowers a little more. And I definitely believe your flowers are overdue, bro. So, yeah, appreciation and love and support to you, bro. Thank you for real.
Gratitude, bro. I appreciate that for sure. I took it back when you hit me with the Periscope. I ain't heard that one in a minute.
Oh, yo.
You know about the Periscope, yo. Yeah, that was the spot. But, I appreciate it, man. Whatever I can do for the next person, whatever I can pay. I love the lift as I climb, man. It's no other way around it. So if I can bring people with me, because I was at a point like that too, not knowing what journey awaited for me, not knowing where my next step was going to be, when my next episode was, who my next guest was going to be, if I was even going to post the Down to Business Instagram today. So I get that all 100%. But once you're so just locked in on your cause, on a purpose, man, you won't let everything. God himself will have to come down here and take me out of it. Yeah, see that's my sign. I need it right there, my noise. So nah, bro. But like I said, I always appreciate when anybody comes on here, takes the time, shares the space with me. It's as much mine as it is yours. It's nothing but gratitude, bro. And to everybody out there, he's made himself a resource for you on multiple occasions, on multiple profiles, on multiple sites. Obviously, tread lightly, be careful. He's a reader, an observer of all, an examiner of all. He's sharp with it. He may not give everything the time and attention, but he sees it nonetheless. So just keep that in mind as we move through with everybody. Continue to give grace, give space, and everything like that. But no, to everybody who officially tapped in with me, whether we did it the Facebook way, the Instagram way, the Down to Business way, whether you actually on StreamYard with me right now, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I'm calling this one the first official interview of 2024 because it's the first time we really went live. So I'm glad that my brother Jalil was able to join me here. And to everybody else, I love y'all. I thank y'all. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast. Here with Tamar Turner.
Sir.